Always learning and growing. Attracting the right people and keeping your vision in focus every day. This is the Brian Covey Show.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Brian Covey Show. So today is extra special because I have not only been following along with our guest journey, but also knows one of our friends, Brittany, on our team, and just somebody that I wanted to connect up with. I've followed online. You probably know our guest today, and Noah Galloway. You've probably seen him on American Grit. You might have seen him on Dancing with the Stars, which, if you know me, you know I can't dance, so that was pretty impressive there. And you'll know that he was a U.S. Army. He's a wounded combat veteran that has taken his life and actually turned it into a book about no excuses. And so for many of us, we have excuses that are holding us back in our life. We're going to unpack some of that, how you can live life to your fullest, no matter what's happened, where you are, and where you want to go. And I'm excited because Noah's energy, as we were prepping before the call just a minute ago, I can tell this is going to be a really good one. So Noah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brian, for having me on. I'm glad that Brittany connected us. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I'm really excited too, because I go back to this and it's always interesting for me when we have guests on. And I remember watching you, just thinking about the shows and these things that you've done. And I'd love to talk about those. And then we can kind of go back to some earlier parts of your life and then talk about some things. But I was watching American Grit, right? And I'm watching you guys do all these crazy things and people are coming on, they're testing their grit and all of this. And you obviously serving in the military, one of those, it's a true honor. And we thank you for your service because most people don't even sign up. They don't go through that, but I'm sure you learned some life lessons doing all that. Is there anything you saw as you were on American Grit? I'm always curious why some people you think were successful and why some just flopped out.
I think that, for the listeners that don't know American Grit, John Cena was the host. Then you had me, a combat veteran. You had all these other veterans. You had a sniper from a Ranger battalion, a female Marine, a commander from a Navy SEAL team. And we were competing against each other, really. And there were 16 competitors, and we were given information about them. We read over them. Then we did a draft pick on who we wanted. And I felt like my team was different than everyone else's. My team was a group of workers. As when I say workers, I mean like they did manual labor jobs. Like these are people who have worked for a living. And then you have, nothing against the other people, but a lot of the other teams had a lot of people that weren't real, just wanted attention. And I felt like those, not that the people on my team didn't want attention, but that prize was going to change their life's family. Yeah. And so I think that was a big difference in what happened. My team just, because they ended up winning. In fact, they dominated the show. And one of the things the show didn't like, so it was filmed all at once and then edited and played the following spring. And they told me that Fox didn't like that the same team is winning. And I said, well, they're going to win. And they started manipulating, because reality TV is not reality. Everything is, there were geniuses behind the camera, behind the scenes that create what happens. Yeah. And they were trying to do that, but my team was too good. And they got tense for a little while, but my team ended up winning. It was a great experience. What it really showed me was it reminded me of being in the military and that leadership role. And a lot of times in leadership, you lead from the front and by example, but then, too many people micromanage. Yeah. And my team, we would talk about things and we would refresh things. We talked a lot. I love land navigation. So we talked a lot about it. So one day my team was the only team that knew how to do land nav. And but I wouldn't interfere once they started working. Like one day we were filming and they had to do math after running for miles to open this lock. And the camera guy was like, hey, give them some pointers. I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt them. They're doing math. When are you doing math that someone yelling at you helps?
Never.
So that was one thing is like you lead from the front, but then you don't micromanage. You let them do, just like you play golf.
Not well, but I do.
Okay, well, yeah. As in golf, you never practice on the course. You practice on the driving range. And once you've learned on the driving range, you trust it will work on the course. And so that's what leadership is. It's like you train them, you prep them, you guide them, and then you let them do it. And that's where their success came from.
I love it. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up, that you guys did dominate and you did win, which was so interesting to me, because I think that's a testament to your leadership as well, and knowing your team. And I love what you said there is there's times that you got to lead from the front and you've got to be that louder voice and where we're going. And there's times that you do kind of sit back. Are there any leadership principles that you have committed to know that really help you, or you've seen the most successful leaders, that they embody certain characteristics or things that they actually do with their teams?
Well, I mean, that question's hard to answer, because what is success? You could see, a CEO of a company that has a lot of money and, whatever they want, but is that success if they don't have the family connection, which I see as the real prize? And to me, real leadership starts at home. If you're not a leader to your own children or those in your family, as in being a good person, leading from the front there, then you're not going to do it somewhere else. Can't get paid, in a business setting to lead people if you are not even a good leader to your family. And so that's, for me, it took me a long time to learn. It took me getting injured to learn that, my children, my family are more important. And that, for me, is when the ripple effect led me to where I ended up, because I turned down a lot of things because my kids were a priority. So when it comes to leadership, I think that real success is just pure happiness. Money doesn't matter. I mean, money's great, but it doesn't matter. So to me, real leadership are those who truly are the good people that they try to say they are.
Yeah.
And you see that it's when people are with their families.
Man, I love that. And I resonate with you so much, because there's times that we see these people, especially in today's era, right? Like on social media, you see them with the fancy car, or the nice this, nice that. And you're like, you often wonder, and I think about that because, we both are raising 3 kids, and it's like, man, it's just to have that legacy, and to make sure if I don't lead them, who's going to lead them and care for them and take care of them, and, with my wife, and that's success later, and people miss it. And when you're talking about that, I'm curious, outside of the family piece, if you define success for you and like what winning looks like on your terms, and because I think a lot of people struggle with what success is. Yeah, no. And I don't think I could truly answer that question, because, the changes that I've gone through with the success, and then with COVID, when COVID hit, my entire year that was booked out canceled. And then I was like, well, then, you know what? I'm retired now. I've made good money. I'm good. And I just focused on, my family, and that's been great. I do enjoy, like, I realize I can't just sit around and do nothing. I lose my mind. Yeah. But to me, being successful is just being happy. Yeah. And if you're happy, like I'm living, like I make enough to live comfortably. My children know we're doing a little better than some other people. You know what I mean? We're not hurting, but we're not. They don't see me fight for the almighty dollar. You know what I mean? They see that it's like, hey, enjoy your life and don't be owned by money. And too many people are. They either want it in their business, or they're just looking to marry somebody that has it. You know what I mean? That's where, like, when you mentioned social media, that was the first thing that crossed my mind. I mean, we do like to post and share things, but when people overdo it, then they're the same people that are like, I don't know why I can't find a good man or a good woman. It's like, well, you're using this bait to lure the wrong people in. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I was single, I didn't hesitate. When I was making good money, if you want to go out with me, we'd go to a dive bar. I wouldn't take you somewhere fancy, like, not because you didn't matter, but because it's like, this is who I am. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much money I make. There's a dive bar down the road from my house that there is always a group of old men sitting at the bar that I'm going to walk in. They're excited to see me. Yes. That's who it is. That's who I am. And that turned a lot of people off, which was good, because they weren't people I wanted. Man, that is powerful right there, because we talk about that quite a bit with our team as we build, is attracting the right people and then having the right people in your circle and taking care of them. Too many people, it's just, I see they want to attract everybody and appeal to everyone and all. And it's like,
you're not going to that.
No.
Yeah. It's so hard to do. And then especially like when you're talking about people looking for their lifelong partner, well, yeah, when first couple of dates, you may embellish things a little bit, but you have to be truthful of who you are. If you're not truthful of who you are, well, you're not going to be you did a disservice to this other person because they don't know who you are. And then they don't even realize it. They will. It always comes out. And so that goes back to the whole leadership thing. You have to be who you really are. If you want to be a good leader, well, then you have to start being a leader. You're not trying to look like a leader. You need to start being a leader.
Well, it's almost back to, I'd love for you to share a little bit of your experience and everything of when you enrolled and you get into the Army and you spent, I believe, around 6 years.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years. Yeah, it wasn't very long. I wanted it to be longer. Yeah, I was in college when 9/11 happened, and I saw everything, and it really bothered me. It was very upsetting, just like it was for everyone else. And I never went back to class. I enlisted. I have an uncle that served as a paratrooper in Vietnam who always said, if you go in the military, tell them you want airborne infantry, so you're right up front. That's what I did. Ended up with the 101st out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. General Petraeus was our division commander, an amazing leader, and that leadership shown all the way down. You know, people don't realize how bad leadership can mess up everything below it.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you think they're further ahead, you know, that person's too high to affect us down here. It does. And good leadership does the same thing. You feel it. And we felt it under General Petraeus, and was in the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And I loved it. You know, I like the political side of it, all that. As a soldier, none of that is relevant. You know what I mean? You do your job. You have your brothers you serve with. And I just enjoyed being over there. The excitement, not just I loved the excitement and the firefights, but also the locals. I enjoyed getting to know the locals. I was just a boy from Alabama. Suddenly I'm in the other side of the world. And I'm like, this food is amazing. You know what I mean? And I just had a great time. And so I re-enlisted in Iraq to stay in the military. After a year in Iraq, went home, prepared, and then we went back our second deployment. Second deployment was much different. We were in an area called the Triangle of Death. And it was a big farm area. So because it was less populated, they could put more explosives out.
Yeah.
Iraq isn't like Vietnam where kids were wearing bombs, things like that. No, the Iraqis are protective of each other. Like, you know, we had a situation where a child was hurt when someone tried to fire something at us soldiers, and the locals went ballistic. They went after that man. You know what I mean? So that deployment being an open area, it gave them more opportunities to hit the enemy, which was us. And every unit take a hit, and then we did too. We started losing a lot of people, and just a couple months into it, I was driving a Humvee, and it was at night, so we had our night vision goggles on because the headlights were off. You can see well with those, but you can't see everything. What I didn't see was a tripwire stretched across the road. And when I hit it, it detonated a roadside bomb large enough that when it hit my door, it threw that 9,000-pound armored Humvee flying through the air and landing in a canal running adjacent to the road. I don't remember any of it.
Wow.
I woke up 6 days later in the hospital. No idea where I was, how I got there. And it was Christmas Day. It was Christmas night. And it was just as my family was walking in. And my mom had to tell me the news of what situation. I mean, lost my left arm above the elbow, my left leg above the knee. My right leg was severely injured, had no feeling in it. My right hand was injured. My jaw was shattered, so my mouth was wired shut. Wow. And so I wake up to all this. Like, I can't even talk because my mouth's wired shut. I've got a trach in. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went through a lot of denial from that. Like, I was very like, I'm going to be okay. This isn't that big a deal. But no, I was terrified and lost. And I started living this life of not being happy, but looking for it, self-medicating with alcohol, like over drink, you know, doing these things to the excess. Yeah. And because I had to quit it all completely for a while to make sure, because some people, there's an addictive level that you have to be aware of. And I was making sure it wasn't me. And thankfully, like, and fitness is what I have taken up with. But the reason I got there, I have to give credit to my 3 children. Yeah. Because as I was going through these dark times, I walked into the living room one day and my 3 young kids were sitting on the couch watching cartoons. And I realized to my 2 boys, I'm showing them what a man is, and that's what they're going to become one day. Yeah. And to my little girl, I'm showing her how a man's supposed to act. That's what she's going to look for one day. And that right there was enough for me to be like, I got to change. And kids grow up fast. So I was like, I'm not saying that everything was fixed. I still made mistakes. I still screwed up in life and landed flat on my face. But every time I did, the thought of those 3 children is what lifted me up to say, keep going. And then it just, it built from there. I got back in shape. Then I started running obstacle course races, marathons, mountain climbing, anything I could do, which got attention of, there was a True Life episode out there about Tough Mudder I'm in, Men's Health, Dance with the Stars, all that. But, even with all the success, my children take a priority.
Yes.
And when I say they take a priority, after I was on the cover of Men's Health, I went on Ellen DeGeneres' show. And the minute it aired, my phone started ringing. Survivor wanted me. And I love Survivor, was excited about it, but it's X amount of weeks, no contact back home. When you get voted off, you stay with the crew, no contact back home. And I was like, I can't do it. My kids are more important. Another show called, loved the idea, couldn't do it. Dancing with the Stars called. And they were like, do you have any dance experience? No. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard of your show. I've never even seen it. They wanted me. And they said, if you'll do our show, we'll put you in a house in LA while you're here. I was like, I can't do that. I have 3 kids here in Alabama, more important than a television show. And without hesitation, they were like, okay, we'll send the dancer to Birmingham. You'll rehearse there and fly back and forth to LA for the live show. And I was like, crap, I guess I'll do it. I didn't think I'd last very long.
Right.
To my surprise, I did all 10 weeks and came in 3rd place.
I remember that. Incredible.
It was a crazy ride. That I don't like dancing. When people ask me about my experience on the show, I'm like, no, it was miserable. No, I mean, I loved it. I'm still friends with everyone on the show, from my dance partner to those on the crew, the cameraman, hair and makeup. I was just on the phone the other day with the gentleman that used to do my hair on Dancing with the Stars. He used to do Ryan Seacrest hair. You know what I mean? We're friends. But I don't like dancing. So it was miserable and tough, but I'm glad I did it, because the amount of people that reached out to me during that show that were just motivated to do something, just do a little more in life. And that made me feel good.
Well, that's power. I mean, you've taken what, for most people, I mean, outside of dying, with that could have happened in that situation, you wake up, and I love how you went through that, because it's kind of this journey I just went on with you, and you found your purpose. And for many of us, especially the parents out there, I'm the same way with my 3 kids. It's like, in the darkest of times, or when I don't want to do things, or it gets there, you're like, if you don't have that, and why you're doing what you're doing, and that purpose, and you turned that into something beautiful that now is inspiring people. And I'm guessing that's kind of where the book coming in with Living with No Excuses. I mean, anybody that hears your story, not that we want to compare ourselves to other people, but look, at the end of the day, we all got to take action of where we are. And you created this book and you're living it. That's what I'm seeing, this constant pattern of, you're very much in alignment. It's not just what you say, it's what you do.
Yeah. And I think that is so important. Like, when you think about, like, for me with my kids, even when I'm not with them, I have to, whenever anything comes across my desk, I ask myself 2 questions. How does this affect my kids, and what lessons is it going to teach them? Because, we're not always going to be around our kids, and they're growing up. I have one that's about to be 17. He's not far from moving out. I will continue to hope that I'm still a good influence in his life, even if he's living on the other side of the world, has his own family. You know what I mean? By being, and that's where, like, going back to the leadership, starting at home, that's what I mean by it. That it's actually being a leader that cares and does the right thing for those they love. Because if a person's not doing it for the ones they love, they're not going to do it for a stranger in the office. And so that's where real leadership starts.
How true is that? And I've often heard it said, and I've been on that journey myself, of, like, when I didn't take care of myself and have anything to give, it's almost like you can't pour from the empty cup type of mindset of, and being able to give your kids things. And it seems like for you, you said you picked up fitness, which for me, and I totally relate, like in the darkest of times, playing sports growing up and then getting out of shape and having 2 kids and like the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Fitness is like, it's the outlet. It grounds me again, all that. So I'd love for you to talk about that, because a lot of people have realized during COVID, their health and their mental and physical health, not good.
Your physical health, eating good, you are what you eat. That's 80% of your diet right there. But taking care of yourself and exercise does so much for us, like not just relieve stress. It also, you feel better about, and when you feel better about yourself, you feel better in general. Yeah. And, for me, going through that depression and then coming out, there was mental health. I'm a big advocate for that. But that one of the things that really helped me was fitness. And I was so dedicated and convinced that fitness was the answer. Like I was this close to just going door to door and asking people, have you accepted fitness into your life? You know what I mean? Like that was my mindset. Like everything was fitness. And, I've gone through my ups and downs still, especially when you get busy. I've gotten out of shape, then I get back in shape. And the beginning of COVID, no, I looked horrible. And then, I was like, okay, time to get back in shape. And now I'm back on that track, and I can tell a difference. I feel better. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people would benefit from fitness more than they even realize. They think that there's just a look that they're looking for, but there's an inner, but it's hard because we all want instant gratification. Yeah. And fitness, you can't be unhealthy for 20 years and that disappear in 20 days.
No. I love how you mentioned the food part, and I go back to, like, one of the things that I've always seen is people that have that kind of just confidence. And it's not an arrogance, but it's a confidence. And I have found just in my own journey, if I'm not doing those things, I just, whatever it is, how we're wired as humans, I think, and some of us that are kind of extremists on, we love to compete and we love to have challenges in life. When that's not dialed in, it's hard to be the best dad, spouse, leader, somebody in your community. Are there routines, I'm curious for you, that you found during those seasons where things were in rhythm and clicking? Are there routines that work for you that kept you on track?
Getting up, like some days I don't have to be up early. And when I get into that, if I start letting myself sleep in, even on days that it's okay, it takes me downward. You know what I mean? Because then the next day you sleep a little longer. And for me, getting up, getting started is the best thing. And, a trick that I found, I've never told anybody this. I never even told my wife that I do this, but because she notices I drink a lot of water at night, right before bed. Because she's like, you drink a lot of water at night. I will drink a lot of water because when I wake up early in the morning and I have to pee, I'm getting up. Yeah. And it'll get me up. And then the trick is not to lay back down. That's right. What I mean? To get up. And so that is something that I just started doing and has fortunately worked for me.
How funny is that? Because I have done that before. I'll openly admit it. And I will say that was one thing for me. And it was kind of a trigger of when I get up to go to the bathroom, stay up. To your point, if you go lay back down, let's be real, you probably don't fall back asleep at a great rate and you're tossing and turning. You're laying there for 20, 30 minutes. What could you have done in that time? So it eliminates the excuse of I don't have time. And our oldest, she's now 14 and she gets up early, and I always want to have that time in the morning with her. And so she leaves the house like 6:45. So I'm making sure I'm up. I can hear her like 5:45 and I'm up because I may get a precious 15, 20 minutes with her in the morning. If I don't get up and I'm just laying in bed and I sleep until 6:30, I don't get any time. And I think, and I love, because I can sense that with you too, is like making choices that align up with where your kids are. And for all the parents out there, I'm curious because I love how you've stayed true and you've said no to things. I think that's where people fall into this trap of like, I got to say yes to this. They're getting attention, which in today's world, like, oh, I'm getting this. I got to say yes to this opportunity. I got to go here. How have you found, like, is it just saying no to things that you're able to make time and create space for your family and your priorities? Or are there things that you do to make sure, hey, I'm doing what I need to do? Yeah. Not only little things.
because, people that know me know that I'm not really good at saying no. Like if you come and say, no, I would love for you to come, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. If I have time, I'll do it. I'm bad about that. But now when things come in that I think are going to take me away from my kids for too long or be a bad impression on them, I won't hesitate to say no. Like and I think that's because I've gotten it in my head that no, I like attention. You know what I mean? But I also am happy with that attention just being around a group of friends and me telling funny stories and jokes.
Yeah.
So it's like I like the attention, and because I didn't turn it away, when I was on Dance with the Stars, but I don't crave it. My social media, sometimes I'm posting, sometimes I won't. You know what I mean? Like it's like, it comes and goes just because it's just something that's fun, and I have followers that like my posts, so I'll post things. It's not for any, other thing. And what's really interesting is the fact that things will come in and I will just say no. And I've told people those times that you say no, I feel like pay out better in the long run.
Yeah.
You can say yes and get this instant gratification, but then there's the after effects that you have to live with for the rest of your life. And I would rather every night I try to go to bed hoping that I made the right decisions for the day. And sometimes those days aren't always there, and you're like, well, tomorrow I must do better.
Yeah. I love that, because there is the opportunity cost, especially as, a dad and a husband, all that. Like if you go do any of those things, and I love the examples you use, is like, if I say to go do that, I used to travel quite a bit. I tell everybody, take all the things aside and the things that happened during COVID. One of the blessings was I was off the road and got to reconnect and get grounded. And it was almost this pattern interrupt of like, I'm so used to just traveling. It wasn't there. And sometimes we need those seasons. So I'd love to unpack the book a little bit with you.
All right.
So living with no excuses. I mean, obviously you're the epitome of that. I'm listening to your stories today and I'm like, dang, I might be thinking back to, okay, Noah would do this, or like, those triggers of like, what would Noah do? It's almost those things, but what kind of got you to write the book? And let's talk about a little bit, people that may not be as familiar with what it's all about.
Look, the funny thing was I'd done a lot of different, it was, men's health, these things were happening. I did different interviews, and I had a lot of times that people were like, hey, if you ever want to do a book, I would love to be your ghostwriter and help you. But interestingly enough, my very first national interview was years before Dancing with the Stars. And it was just a lady who was doing a story on veterans as a group, and a NASCAR driver who invited us to a race at Talladega. And so while we were there, she was just slowly interviewing each of us. And then she interviewed me, and she said, I want to do a bigger story on you. So she did. And then for her piece that ended up on the national news channel, there was the video, then there was the written part. And when I read the written part, I was so impressed that it took another 7 or 8 years that I finally was like, I want to do a book. And I called her and I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm actually in between jobs right now. I said, perfect, because I'm about to pay you to help me write my book. Yeah. And it was perfect that I chose her because I like her style, and it ended up being perfect. But I wanted her to challenge me. She knows how to ask the right questions to get these different stories out. Because in my book, there's a lot of fun. There's, my childhood, there's Dancing with the Stars. But the meat of the book, I open up about my depression. And my friend Rebecca, that helped me write the book, she was able to tap into that to get, I had to relive all that stuff, these mistakes. But they were necessary, because I told her, I said, I need you to help me do this, because my mindset was, this can help someone else.
Yes.
This can help someone else. And then when we were done with it, I was nervous. I was very scared that these people that loved me on Dancing with the Stars, saw me as this Southern gentleman, are going to read this book, and I shared the darker side of me. There's an entire chapter dedicated to me spending 10 days in the county jail. You know what I mean? Like, it was showing these mistakes. And I thought they were going to hate it, but the reaction to people has been phenomenal. because I was open. I've had not just veterans, not just people with disabilities. I've had men and women reach out to me that say that they related. They knew there were parts of that book. They're like, I've been there. I've been felt that way. And to know there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or they know someone that is going through something. So I wanted it to be a book that really pushed people, to think about mental health and what we go through as people. And it's done really well. I'm very proud of it. It's a really good book. It's an easy read. I made the best choice of hiring Rebecca as my ghostwriter, and very happy.
Well, I love that you're open enough to talk about that dark side. And this last weekend, I heard Tim Grover speak for the first time live, and he coached Michael Jordan and Covey and all these guys, and he talked about the dark side of winning, that nobody talks about the darkness. And I love that you bring that out in your book, because a lot of times people think, oh, success, or they're living their purpose, they're doing all these things. It's like, no, man, there's a dark side to all of us if you can tap into.
Yeah, not only that, I felt like the book was necessary because other people thought, oh, this guy got injured, got into fitness, started running races, Men's Health, Dance with the Stars. And it's like, that's not real. That's not how it went. You know what I mean? There was struggles. I lost my home. I had a house repossessed at one time. There was all these bad things that were, I had a car impounded. Like, I was struggling. There were struggles, and a lot of it was my fault. There were organizations, there were people that were there to help me get off my feet, but I didn't want it because I was in this self-deprecating, like, it was just misery that I was living in. And it wasn't until I realized how it was affecting others that I got scared. And that's one thing that I point out to people, that knowing how it affects others. That's like, we all have our bad habits. But for example, a friend, if you have a friend that smokes cigarettes and you're like, you should really think about quitting. Well, you got to die of something. But I always tell those people, but what if you don't immediately die? What if you end up in a horrible health condition and your family is forced to care for you? They have to quit what they're doing, stop their lives, put their lives on hold to care for you because you made this decision, this selfish decision. And that really, that kind of hits people in the gut. You there? Uh-oh.
Yeah. Wow. So I love that you're open to confront those things and share those things, because a lot of people in their past, they either think it was just them, they're the only ones that have ever gone through it, or they're afraid to share that happened to them. And it's like, look, man, we're all messed up on multiple levels. We've all had things happen. You're sharing it. One is healing for you, but it's also for other people to relate to you and go, man, if he could do that, he had all that happen. Like, okay, I can go do this today and step out. And I love that, because you see people today and you often wonder, like, what's holding them back?
Yeah, themselves. I mean, we know that. We all know it. We know the only person that holds us back are ourselves, and people do it, and then, like you said, people don't want to admit their struggles or their downfalls.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like, you don't have to walk around just telling everybody that you've screwed up or spent time in the county jail, but denying that, like I've seen it in relationships where people want to completely deny and ignore, their past. And it's like, well, we can't build together unless we know where we've come from. And sharing and opening, that's what builds friendships and relationships and partnerships, and even in work, knowing that you trust the person you're with. You know what I mean? And then it's endless possibilities.
I love that, because that's where, as I listen to where you are and knowing what your legacy will be, I always think about that. Like, I had a coach of mine just kind of share and shifted my perspective of like, what is your legacy going to be? And all around the family and having those things that you made an impact. Because a lot of times we're not walking around with like, something tattooed on us that says, hey, I got arrested. I did this. Like, no, but it is part of the story. For anybody that's wanting to share more of their story, how did you get comfortable with that? And obviously you put it in a book, but you talk about it as a motivational speaker and things I've heard. Are there things that you could help people? Because I think that's a pocket that they need that healing, and maybe their story could help somebody else.
Yeah. Not everybody wants to stand on stage and share their intimate, faults and mistakes. So I would never encourage people to just start blurting it out. But, sometimes I think that you should have someone you can open up to, especially if it's, a significant other or whatever it is, you have to have someone you confide in. If you don't have that, well, then you're bottling so much up, and that's another thing where if you're not comfortable sharing these things with, your friends and relatives, well, that's where mental health is huge. People don't realize, look, just because you go to mental health, they're not going to just start throwing medication at you. A lot of times you go and you talk, and that talking makes a huge difference, and share what's going on in your life. They give you a different perspective, and actually really good because they're not involved. Yeah. They're removed, and that's where it's really good. And I think that is critical. Now, there is a situation that a really good friend of mine shared very openly a lot of his past and his traumas. And it was him that told me that he was actually considering, after reading my book, writing a book. And here it was, we were sharing, and he was opening up about things that he didn't really open up about in the past, but it was a good conversation and he felt good. And I told him, I said, if you're ever comfortable enough to actually make it a book, I think you should, because what he went through isn't uncommon for a lot of people in that situation. And I think that it's not talked about. And I think that it will make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. So sometimes if he doesn't, that's okay. I think that him having a friend that he can open up to is big enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes if people, when you can share it, it can really help people.
Yeah, it can be there. And that's one of those things I've always believed is like that power of association. And they always talk about, your 5 closest people you spend the most time with are going to influence you. Right. And, so this has been incredible. So I know we could talk forever.
Oh yeah.
This has been, and I got to say, this has been one of my favorites, that just the conversation and just how real you are, not only what you've accomplished, but just your life and how you're using that in such a better platform. But yet then it's still this dichotomy of then this family man. And so thank you for being just an inspiration to so many people, myself included, and your service. It's one where I really wanted to have you on to share that, because I think there are people out there, I know this is going to have a profound impact on them and what you're doing. And I know with now you've got your foundation and everything you've been doing. You said you had the golf tournament and all that. Yep. Let's tell people a little bit about that. We'll include it in the show notes and everything. So for everybody listening, we'll include all that. But
I, as an injured veteran, when I first got injured, I found out that not all nonprofits do what they say they do. And, I didn't know that. I was unfamiliar. And then being an injured veteran and then getting involved with it, some organizations were incredible. Then you would see others that were just not that. So as I gained attention, I remember telling somebody about my experiences, my negative experiences with that. And they said, you should start your own charity. And I was like, well, I'm too busy to just run my own charity. Then it became a charitable fund that I have a third party that runs it. We'll do fundraise, or, I'll sell books, whatever, things like that money goes in, people donate. And what I do is there's a board of directors, and I say, hey, I want to give money to this organization. I want to give money to this organization. So it's to highlight and help out those good organizations. And then this past year decided, why not start golf tournaments, and did our first one, raised $10,000 for Sheepdog Impact Assistance. And they work with veterans and first responders. They're absolutely incredible. If anybody wants to look them up, Sheepdog Impact Assistance, great organization. We were able to raise that money, had the best time doing it. So next year we'll choose another organization, then the next year. And that's where I'm going with that, is I just want to try to help as many people as I can. And if I can, because of my attention, if I can use that to, even though like I'm D-list at best, that's better than nothing, me doing nothing. And that I enjoy doing.
I love it. That's where, for all of us, it's like, what can we contribute? And a lot of times I would say you're much higher than a D-list there, but it's one of those like, what can we do? And I love that you've taken action in that. And so we'll include all of that, guys, in the show notes so you can link up and get involved, because I think that is something. We just had our War Heroes on Water event yesterday kicking off for this weekend. And our CEO is going to have, I believe this year is going to be up to 100. I think I was telling you, wounded veterans that are coming out. They're going to do the fishing tournament, and just an experience for them. It's really cool to see over the 3 days they get to go out, and the bonds that are formed, the stories, and the healing that takes place. We often hear afterwards of, this is the first time I was able to get out, like you talked about, and talk about things that happen. Be around my brothers and sisters, like all that. Like, it's incredible. So, well, Noah, where can people follow along with your journey? I know you said you're not as active on social, but I'm sure people are going to want to.
I'm getting better at it. I'm getting better at it, trying to post more. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. They're all certified accounts. So if you just look up Noah Galloway, it's certified. And then I have noahgalloway.com. If there's any, I do a lot of speaking for corporations, and people go through that a lot. But yeah, I really just appreciate this conversation and being on your show, Brian. That it meant a lot that I was invited to come on and to spend this time with you.
Likewise, my friend. And when I come to Birmingham, we're gonna have to connect up. I can't wait to meet you in person and hang out. This has been a true honor and a joy. And thank you for all you're doing, not just your service when you're in the military, but what you're doing after. And I love this, like living with no excuses. Like, I can't wait to give that book out to some friends, because now as I'm listening to parts of it and connecting the dots, I'm like, oh, I know somebody I need to give that to. So we'll include that. And guys, that's going to be a wrap for today. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave comments and feedback. That's how we know what guests you like, what your takeaways were, what you learned. Is I believe we're all a tribe and a community that we can help each other and really help each other live our best lives, just like you heard today with Noah. And you can get out there and you can inspire and impact people today by taking action. So do that. Let us know how we can help you, and we will catch you on the next episode. See ya.
Subscribe, rate, and review The Brian Covey Show today. Go to briancovey.com.